If you have an anxious attachment style, this video is probably the most important video you'll watch today. It's important because as a therapist, my job is to help you uncover some of the things that you're not aware, also regain control of your insecurities, of patterns. What happens when you have an anxious attachment style is that you are prone to self-gaslight all your actions, all your thoughts, all your emotions. And that will impact not only your relationship, could also impact your experience of breakups if you recently broke up with your partner. In other words, if you're not aware of this pattern of self-gaslighting, it's impossible for you to have the right relationship. It's impossible for you to be fulfilled in a relationship, to feel you deserve this relationship. You know, if you're trying to repair, heal from a breakup, if you're trying to reconnect with a partner, to develop a secure base with your partner, the first thing you have to do is to recognize the patterns, is to recognize the things that you're doing unconsciously that are actually affecting not only the relationship, but also your own self-esteem, your own experience, the stories you're telling yourself. This is what we will cover in this video. So first of all, let's back what I'm saying with some studies. I will put the link of the study, Mikkelsener and Shaver from 2005. Basically, what happens is anxiously attached people, they usually have a deep fear of abandonment. And when you have a deep fear of abandonment, you're always second guessing your emotions, right? You're always thinking like, am I allowed to feel this way? Is it the right experience? Right, and I'll explain in a second the mechanism. Also, again, the stories that we are telling ourselves. Am I too needy? So Mikkelsener says anxiously attached individuals tend to suppress or overregulate negative emotions to maintain closeness in relationships. In other words, because you would want to save the relationship at all costs, you would disregard your own emotions. Therefore, what it means is you're not respecting your own experience. You're forgetting yourself at the cost of the relationship. And that's very important because it's not sustainable. And it's probably the root cause of some of your problems in your relationships. They also say you often dismiss your distress because, again, you don't want to push others away. As if your voice was not relevant, was not important. You don't want to be intruding. You don't want to embarrass, right? You get almost ashamed of your own experience. And when you do that, what happens is you have this emotional dysregulation and you create, it's basically the best recipe for self-doubt. Having an emotion, negative, not allowing yourself to accept, to embrace this emotion. This is how you create this idea of like, I'm not adequate. I'm not the right person. I'm not good enough. I'm not the right partner, etc., etc., etc. This is what I want you to understand, reflect on, and regain control of those narratives. You are not the slave of those little voices in your head. It's very important because we assume, because that's the way we go on with our life, that this is normal. No, my job is to challenge the status quo. And perhaps this status quo is providing a lot of pain, a lot of almost depression sometimes. So that's why we need to uncover those things. First, if you want to move forward, if you want to make the right decision in your life, should you want to have a good relationship with your partner, but also a good relationship with yourself. So let me explain how it looks like. And please, 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 let's use this video as a space for conversation. So please let me know in the comment section how you feel, if you feel you recognize yourself, and read others people's comments, because I know there's a lot of value in learning from people's perspective. And I'll share with you at the end something you could do in order to extend this sort of community element. So you minimize your needs to keep the peace. So as we discussed from the study. The thing is, a lot of the time, we develop this anxious attachment because we were taught love is conditional, right? You need to give me good grades and I'll be proud of you, right? You need to be a good boy and I'll be proud of you or I'll love you, right? Maybe that's not what your parents or your caregivers had in mind, but that's what you understood. And that created a framework in your mind. In order for me to be loved, to be in a relationship, I need to earn that love, right? It's always like whatever I give, right, is what I need to do in order to get the love back. And the thing is, that's where you suppress your needs because you feel like if I'm asking too much, there's no reciprocity, right? And in a way, and again, I'll be very curious to know what you feel about that, it feels safer to suppress those needs than expressing them. Another element, another of this dynamic, is forgetting about yourself. And this idea that you would prioritize your partner's comfort over your own. In other words, because you want a relationship more than anything, you feel that, again, back to when you were younger, your voice doesn't matter, right? You don't want to be disturbing, whatever you want, maybe, right? I'm not feeling deep inside, you're not okay with this. It's very similar to people-pleasing dynamic. I'm thinking no, but I'll say yes because I don't want any trouble. Because the only idea of trouble is linking to the fact of they will leave me, they will abandon me. And that's my deepest fear, and I don't want to go there. And so I will avoid at all costs to get into that situation because then I'll get dysregulated. Again, let me know, I'm really curious. I'm not sure if these videos will make a lot of views, but I really want you, if you're watching this video and you feel like, okay, that's me, please comment on this because I really want to look at the comments. As you know, I'm a dismissive avoidant. A lot of my clients are anxiously attached, but I'm always thriving to learn about your experiences. And I know hearing others' experiences really help in giving yourself some perspective, feeling, okay, I'm not the only one feeling this. And so what happens is this reassurance seeking will create self-doubt. Understand that when you're seeking validation, it's a coping mechanism. And like any coping mechanism, some of them are healthy, some of them are not healthy. And the point is to recognize that what you're doing is a coping mechanism. Is again, finding any type of strategies not to feel this fear of abandonment. And that's why when people would dismiss you, you will question yourself rather than themselves. That's one of the biggest difference between avoidant and anxious people. Avoidant will always feel it's them. Anxious people will always feel it's me. Obviously, the right answer is more subtle. The problem when we have two people anxious avoidant is because they oversimplify the reality of things. They over-exaggerate the response, the narratives and assume the narratives of their partner, bringing it to a black or white situation where it's obviously more subtle than that. Okay, so it's very important to recognize where are you. Usually, if you have an anxious attachment style, you take things personally. It's usually not always the case, but it's really important. Again, the whole point of this video, the whole point of my work is for you to help you recognize those patterns. The point is to rely, and I'll explain in a second how to do it, to reshape the narrative, writing your story on facts rather than assumptions, rather than distorted reality based on your fears. That's the first element. And the problem is like when you're in a relationship, usually you're with someone who's not complete, who has insecurities, which is the case for 100% of the people. And the problem is that when you're not aware of those mechanisms, and you're not aware that also your partner has insecurities, it will reflect on you. And you will again have those moments of self-doubt. If you have an anxious attachment style, this must be because of me. Okay, so it's very important. Maybe it's because of you, maybe it's not. Most of the time, if you have an anxious attachment style, most of the time, it's not really because of you. Gaslighting, self-gaslighting. If you have a partner gaslighting you, obviously, that will reinforce this element of self-gaslighting. So self-gaslighting, in other words, is like doubting your own ability to, or doubting your own emotions, not allowing yourself to recognize your emotions. So when you have someone telling you, oh, you're overreacting, you're too needy, this is where it will cast a doubt on whether this is actually real. Not allowing yourself to accept that, oh yeah, I have some needs. Yes, maybe I'm anxious, but I want to be in a relationship where I'd like to be able to call my partner once a day. Or move in with my partner because we've been together for 2 years, for example. But the other one will reflect like, no, it's too much. Right? You're too needy. It's like you're pressuring me. And somehow there's this little voice in your head telling you like, yeah, he's right or she's right. That's too much. So that's why I think the value of having someone, not only a therapist, but that community element of like, no, you're right. You have every right to have some emotional needs, to expect from your partner to open up, to discuss things, to discuss about the future, to be able to meet your family, your friends. And it's important because otherwise you're the one gaslighting yourself. Because you're going to start creating a reality that's disconnected from who you are really. And that's how you create emotional dysregulation. That's where you're confused, that's where you're depressed, that's where you feel like, why am I staying in this relationship? Who am I? I talk a lot, that's not the point of this video, but I talk a lot about self-identity in the context of a relationship. If you're in a relationship where you have this gaslighting, self-gaslighting dynamic, you're going to lose all your identity. And you might wake up 10 years from now thinking like, what have I done? Because I had those demons or those voices not allowing me to be myself, to speak up, to draw the line, to have those boundaries. Because deep inside, I had this deep insecurity, this lack of confidence. So maybe this video will be a wake-up call. I hope it is if you are in a toxic relationship. But it's important again to recognize those things and be realistic. Now, in the context of breakups will obviously trigger extreme gaslighting because you're going to replay the scenarios. You're going to ruminate again and again. That's what we do after a breakup. We ruminate on things. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe it's because of the conversation I had 2 months ago when I said this. Maybe it's because I forgot about this, right? And we always try to find almost a tipping point, a triggering event, and we forget to look at the big picture, right? Again, the assumption is, was I too much? Did I push them away? We create this obsession, okay? And also, what's fascinating about pain is that the pain associated with pain will create that doubt. Was it real? Maybe he or she was lying all along. Maybe, and you start trusting yourself. And you have voices or telling yourself like, can I trust myself? And a lot of the time people have a hard time. It's not about moving on after this relationship, but they have a hard time dating after this kind of breakup because they feel like, I'm so scared that I will experience the same pattern. And I'm so scared that I'm not going to see this time this happening again. And I want to protect myself. And because I want to protect myself, I don't want to date anyone. So again, it's about finding the right balance, finding the right, almost, again, the right reality that works for you. Trusting others is important. Trusting yourself is better, in other words. And that's why breakups are usually the starting point of this process. If you found yourself lack of confidence in a relationship, not trusting yourself, this breakup is potentially what needs to happen in your life to finally do the work. And that's why after a breakup, what's important is to rebuild that trust in your own reality. First of all, it's not because someone left you that you're not lovable. Remember, you got in a relationship with them in the first place, so you're lovable. The feelings of loss have nothing to do with the quality of the relationship. You could be heartbroken from an unhealthy, toxic relationship, right? And you have to differentiate this. Also, the feelings that you have don't necessarily relate to the potential of the relationship. It's not, again, because that you feel heartbroken that this relationship had potential. And you have to dissociate yourself on this, because sometimes we're attached to the feelings, thinking and we are stuck on about what we don't have, forgetting that, hold on. If we're honest for a second, and maybe talk to your friends, if I was a third person looking at the relationship, maybe there are things I would say were not working. If I'm really honest with myself, maybe there are things in this relationship that I didn't like. No relationship is perfect. But sometimes, or most of the time, when people analyze breakups, especially when they have an anxious attachment style, they focus only on the positives. And that keeps you stuck. Because you are preventing yourself from analyzing the relationship for what it was, which is not a perfect relationship. But again, no relationship is perfect. Because when you're too stuck on the perfectionism or the ideal relationship that you had in mind, or even the perceived ideal potential relationship that would have happened in the future only if my partner would have done this and that, you forget to understand, like, okay, hold on, what about me? What are my needs? What did I want? If I were to draw the right relationship, how would that look like? That's one of the most common exercises I make my clients do. Okay, forget about the relationship. Describe what will be the ideal relationship. What needs to happen? What do you want? What do you need from your partner? You list it. Okay, this is a circle. Now, let's describe your relationship. Okay. What's the proportion of those that will overlap? Is it like 10%? Is it like 90%? The difficulty with this exercise is to be able to detach from the past relationship. So most people, they will list out the relationships like, no. Start from scratch. You've never had any relationship. You start your loving life now. Describe what you need, how it looks like. The point of this exercise is not to say you will only need to find this relationship, or this is what you need and nothing else will matter. Is to have a clear idea of what you want, a vision. Sometimes I make comparison with the business world because I think it's very easy to understand. Same as you just graduated from your university. What's your ideal job? List. This ideal job probably doesn't exist. But when you apply for a job, you will try to match those criteria. For some reason, when we fall in love, we forget about those things because the chemistry of attraction doesn't necessarily work the same way as meeting our needs. What I'm saying is, usually we are attracted to people who are different than us, who complement us, which is a strength, by the way. But we need to recognize that those differences will also create tension in the relationship. Let me get back to this slide because I digressed, but I think it's important what I just said. The point of healing is to really validating your emotions, trusting yourself. Emotions are just a signal. They're not bad, they're not good, they're just a signal. So yes, sometimes some of them are painful. Yes, when we feel depressed, sad, anxious, our instinct is for us to push them away, to make them disappear. And that's why we want to get sometimes back with our ex at all costs, because we feel like if we get back together, I won't feel anxious anymore. I won't feel sad anymore. Right? That's my solution. That's the easiest solution. The point is to analyze, reflect, try to uncover what's going on. Because it's usually on the other side of that pain that you finally learn what really matters. That's the way it works. That's not usually what people want to hear, but that's how it works, unfortunately. So now it's time to break the cycle. You have to trust your own feelings. One way you can do it is to name your emotions, keep a journal, reflect, be mindful of those emotions. As a dismissive avoidant, it took me a while to understand this. And I printed out, I had a printout of all the emotions, because for me, emotions was just like, like the movie Inside Out. Joy, sadness, embarrassment, and that's it. Apparently there are quite more. So have a look and try to uncover, like, why do you feel this way? What are the voices? What am I telling myself? And anytime you have this negative self-talk, like, why am I thinking it's too much? Why am I thinking I'm not allowed to think about that? Obviously, if you're having a hard time, therapy is the best way to move forward, to heal. I've created a course, and I'm going to do some weekly challenges as part of the community that I launched a few days ago. Have a look in the description. It's totally free. I'm trying to create a safe space for all my followers, and now we are quite a lot, so I'm very grateful about that, where we can have those conversations. We will have workshops, we will have Q&As, things, a place where you can discuss in a confidential way outside of YouTube. So have a look in the description. I'm trying to create that space to, again, add even more value than what I'm currently doing on YouTube. Have a look. At the moment, I want to test it for free and see and get the feedback. I don't know if it's going to be something I will deliver as a membership. I don't know. We'll see. You'll tell me. But the point is to really give more value. So have a look when I record this video, and I think for the next 6 months, that's going to be free anyway. So have a look, make the most of it, use it, make it yours, give me feedback, and I'll see you on the platform, and I'll see you next time. Take care.